NFLMAX Radio, broadcasting live tonight, Wednesday, October 3rd. And with an absolute wild week 4 behind us and a record-breaking first quarter of the NFL season, we're going to recap some player performances of the past week and take a look at some sneaky buys and sells long-term in Dynasty. So we're back, taking over your YouTube airways tonight. And as always, Ewok Juggernaut's here with the hot pineapples. Nick, what's going on, man?
Not much. It's been a long day, but I was excited to come home and sit down and get ready to talk some football. So it's the highlight of my life, which is you can take that or leave it.
There you go. We got through some technical difficulties this evening, but we're moving on past it. And let's jump right into it. The big news this week here, week 4 was an absolute bonanza, high scoring and record breaking. Like I said before, 12 teams this week scored over 30 points and 3 of them scored over 40. And just to put things in perspective, on the season through 4 weeks, we've had 3,030 points scored, which is an NFL record. 344 touchdowns through week 4, and 228 of them were passing touchdowns this season. And just to compare, last year through 4 weeks, we only had 187. We've got a 65 completion percentage across the board from quarterbacks, and 12 of those quarterbacks with at least 400 yards in a game. So, it's like the end of the road here for defenses. And some of the all-time greats, some defenses are rolling over in their grave right now. It's crazy. But, I do have some trepidation moving forward the rest of the season, with weather conditions approaching towards the end of the season, December. We'll probably get back to, some kind of normalcy, but it's been a blast first 4 weeks.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun to watch. It's like, one thing I'll never forget is when I was a little kid watching, Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa go toe to toe for the home runs, in the home run chase for the single season record. This isn't the exact same thing, but it has a similar kind of feel. Like when you watch a football game, you want to see it slung all over the yard. Like one game this week that I couldn't take my eyes off of was Cleveland-Oakland. You want to see 40-plus points up on the board. And when you think about those two teams, you don't think about that kind of output. But, they're touching close to 90 points. It's insane. And you know what? It's a lot of fun to watch. It's especially fun for fantasy. And, it's the new NFL, but I'm falling in love with it. Why not?
Yeah, this is the world we live in now, and fantasy football players are not complaining. That's for sure. So let's go right into it here with positions here. Quarterbacks. Jared Goff, Thursday Night Football in LA against the Vikings, who, the Vikings defense is not who we thought they were, and it's absolutely crazy. You rewind a year ago, they're the number 1 defense in the league, and they were giving up 15.8 points a week. And now they're at the bottom. It's just crazy. But either way, Jared Goff put on a clinic on Thursday Night Football against the Vikes. 26 of 33 for 465 yards, 5 touchdowns and no interceptions, 50 fantasy points on the week. It's just incredible.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, I said it last week. I'll say it again. Like, for any of the skill positions, if you're trying to break ties, buy into this offense because it's legit. And Jared Goff, he's everything that they thought they were getting with the first pick. He's decisive. Arm talent isn't the best in the league, but he doesn't need to be. Like the scheme is perfect. It matches him perfectly. One Matt Waldman was saying, when he had Goff as his number 1 quarterback after the first year, when people were down on Goff, he said, that system, the West Coast system that they were running there was like a rookie quarterback trying to learn Chinese. You can't go and try to, the dialect is totally different. It's impossible. And it was a very hard offense on a rookie to pick up. 1 year in, you're seeing a different scheme, much more simplified. They're giving him less reads. They're scheming people open. And, you got Cooper Kupp sitting over the middle. I mean, Goff has just been as efficient as they come. And one thing that I noticed is digging through Pro Football Focus, he's the number 1 rated passer on the season.
Wow.
And yeah, not just this week. I mean, he's the number 1 rated passer in the league, and he's 16th in attempts. So he's middle of the road. They're not, forcing him the ball with Gurley. It's nice. They have such a good balance there. He's optimized through the scheme. And at this point, you can look at him as a QB1. Like he's a good bet for 300 plus and 2 touchdowns week to week. And what you're seeing from him is not just the short passes. He's 30 for 39 for 522 yards, between 10 and 20 yards. And even down the field, 20 plus yards where you don't think Goff excels. He's 8 for 13 with 322 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 interception for 20 plus.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he's pushing the ball down the field.
Yeah. And if you have him in Dynasty, you got him at an incredible discount because, correct me if I'm wrong, but Carson Wentz was getting drafted over Jared Goff, their rookie seasons in that class in 2016. So, yeah, I mean, it's incredible. That offense with the weapons, they're fun to watch. It's, the greatest show on turf 2.0. I mean, it's amazing. But let's move on. And, another great quarterback performance, Mitchell Trubisky. And, granted, he played Sunday against the Buccaneers defense, who's absolutely atrocious. And actually heading into that game, quarterback's completion percentage is 80% against the Bucs, which is god awful. But Trubisky looked good, and we've been waiting for this out of him. And he was 4 for 5 in end zone throws. So, I mean, that's big right there. Had a big day. Thoughts on Mitch Trubisky?
Yeah, it was a great game. You don't want to take that away from him. But, 19 for 26, he throws for 354 yards, 6 touchdowns, and no interceptions. He's very efficient. Like that's the name of his game. Even on the season, he's been around 70% completion percentage, which it's fine. But he has looked very vulnerable through the first 3 weeks of the season. This was his breakout party, but it's against Tampa Bay. I think it's more of a product of Tampa Bay's secondary. And I mean, I did go back to watch the tape because I was like, that's 26 pass attempts, only 19 completion, 356 yards. Like, what happened? There was broken coverage look at that Trey Burton touchdown. Oh. There was no one within 10 yards of him.
It's ridiculous.
No one was covering him. It's broken coverage after broken coverage after broken coverage. Taylor Gabriel had 3 or 4 catches for massive yak because no one was around him. I don't know what they're doing in that secondary. It's fascinating.
It's crazy. And no Chris Conte in the game. And he had 5 touchdowns at the half. I mean, I don't know. We're going to see this from the Bucs defense the rest of the year. So, you got wide receivers and quarterbacks going up against the Bucs, the Chiefs. Hell, throw the Vikings in there now. Start them. They're must starts. So, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely impressed with Mitch, but, let's not get crazy here because it's the Bucs defense. Let's move on here to really interesting situation here. Andrew Luck. So obviously he's coming back from the injury, and the first few weeks he was not pushing the ball down the field, but that was not the case in week 4. Stat line for Andrew Luck. He threw the ball 62 times. Okay. 40 of 62 for 464 and 4 touchdowns with no interceptions. Is this the Andrew Luck that we've been waiting for to come back? Is he back?
Well, I think the great sign that you see is I was just digging into his down the field statistics like you were saying. A great sign is he threw 6 balls over 20 yards this game. He had 7 through the first 3 weeks of the season. And then what you're also seeing is 14 pass attempts between 10 to 20 yards. He had 17 all season. So he's starting to trust his own arm. And it may not even just be that it's coming back to health. It may have been a psychological thing. I mean, the man was out for a year and a half and couldn't even throw a Nerf football. So maybe he mentally had a mental block where he just couldn't get through it. And this might be the breakout. I mean, from a mental standpoint, he is just bar none one of the smartest quarterbacks in the league. You see it in his PFF rating is 11th overall, even though he was, struggling to put the ball down the field. He's so efficient. He gets the ball out quick. I mean, I was looking PFF. I don't know the exact number, but his grade when he's blitzed is far and away the best in the league, and it's not even close because he knows how to diagnose a defense. He knows when the blitz is coming, and he's smart enough to get the ball out, and he'll call hot routes for his receivers. I mean, he's an incredible quarterback, and I really hope that we see the arm come back to form because he's something special that it's going to be a long time before we see a quarterback like him again.
It's true. And there was a window there to buy in Dynasty, and now it's probably closed. It looks like he's back to form. So the window's probably closed to buy at a discount. But another quarterback coming off an injury, and the window is closing. But you could still try to get him. Marcus Mariota. I love Marcus Mariota. Stat line for Sunday, 30 of 43, 344, 2 touchdowns and a pick, and 40 rushing yards. So, the window's still there. I think you could still get him. I'm a believer. I think he could be big time in this league. But thoughts on Marcus Mariota?
Yeah, he was someone that I was buying a lot of in startups this year. It just seemed like his profile was going to play. I was starting to lose faith the first couple weeks watching him. I know he's having a toughish time with his elbow and the nerves in his elbow and whatnot, but he didn't even belong on the field mentally or physically. And, he starts coming back this week. He starts pushing the ball downfield. The one thing that I love to see from him is he was able to find Corey Davis. And that's not a connection that we've really seen before from them because Corey was hurt so often last year and then Mariota this year. It's going to be imperative to his growth to take a step forward that he has that guy that he can depend on. When you see some of these big-time quarterbacks, they all have that guy. It's Luck, it's T.Y. Hilton, it's Rodgers, it's Devontae Adams, it's name them. You can find whoever you want. Even if it's Wentz, if it's Alshon. They all have those guys that they trust. That when they're under pressure and they need to put the ball up, you have a guy who can go high point it. And Corey Davis is that guy. And Mariota was able to find him, and he's trusting him. And I hope they continue to build that rapport because that could be a great combination for a long, long time.
Yeah, I think so. And we can segue right to wide receivers with that one. And let's talk about him. Corey Davis, 15 targets this week with 9 receptions. The breakout is here, 161 yards and a touchdown, game-winning touchdown, and his first regular season touchdown in his career. And, Corey Davis truthers have been waiting for this game, and it finally happened. That's your boy. You want to talk about Corey Davis. What do we got?
Oh, yeah. He's just physically just a beast. I mean, it was only a matter of time because not only can you match up the physical tools, but he's got the route running ability. Like he's got the technical side to the game too. And that's what you want to see from him. And even coming out through the process, people were like, this guy is a legitimate number 1 wide receiver. His one ding is his inability to stay healthy. And, you even saw it rise before this past week with the hamstring. There were some concerns coming back up, but I mean, it didn't look like it was any problem this time. And I hope he starts taking his conditioning, not that he doesn't take it serious, but I hope that the medical team is able to work with him because if they can keep him from getting those soft tissue injuries, the man is just a physical freak. And he really can win anywhere on the field, especially on the outside.
Yeah. I mean, aside from his health concerns, my biggest concern with him was that offense, because when he was drafted, they were talking this exotic smash mouth offense they were going to run. And I know it's a different regime now, but I was still concerned about the passing game and if it was going to be there for him volume wise. And we saw week 4, man, the volume was there, 15 targets. So, if we,
and that's the thing is sorry, not to cut you off, but the volume's been there. The volume's been there all year long for him. He is one of the safest floor plays that you can find right now because he's getting funneled targets. And even he was going into last week. I didn't look up the stat this week, but going into last week, he was tied for second in the league in yards per route run. I mean, he is getting peppered with targets. He's the only show in town. And, they threw the ball a little bit to Taylor. They threw, they have other options, but he's the main guy, especially without Delaney Walker. Lock and load. He's 10 to 12 targets easy.
And Matthews is gone. So
yeah,
he's retired. I mean, like you said, going into week 3, he was up there with targets, but then of course they played Jacksonville. He only had 4 targets. But aside from the Jacksonville game, I mean, 13 targets, 7 targets, 15 targets. It's there. The volume's there. So let's talk a little bit about, Calvin Ridley. Okay. I hate to, go from the highs of highs with Corey Davis to the not so much of a love fest with Calvin Ridley. But we got to talk about Ridley. I don't know if I should be impressed or what with Calvin Ridley, because he did it again on Sunday, but he only had 54 snaps. So out of the routes run, he ran 67% of the routes, as opposed to Julio and Sanu, who ran 84% of the routes. But again, I mean, here we are pulling up his stats. Calvin Ridley's stats on Sunday: 6 targets, 4 receptions, 54 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Now, I didn't even realize this, but as I pulled it up, I'm saying, 6 targets, 4 receptions. Like, what's everyone going crazy about? What do you think about this?
I'm not buying it still. It's fine. I think he brings a different element to that offense that Sanu didn't bring as an option down there in the red zone, I guess. But, I mean, Julio is playing at an unreal level right now. He's the number 3 rated PFF wide receiver. I mean, Julio is an animal, and he tilts coverage. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. He tilts coverage. So if you really want to see the true test of Calvin Ridley, it's going to be when Julio has that, game or two where he's dinged up. And let's see the coverage tilt back toward Ridley, and let's see how he performs then. And I suspect he won't be anything special. But with that being said,
I was just going to say he's not even the Falcons' number 2 wide receiver. So if Julio gets hurt, it's not going to be the Calvin Ridley show. Sanu's going to slide into the X, and Ridley will face the same coverage he's facing now. So I don't know. Yeah,
but I don't know. And people might be buying into the fact that he's got all these touchdowns, and that's fine. If you subscribe to that notion, because part of buying a player is buying their offense. Like, for me, a big part of the reason I love Will Fuller is because Nuke draws so much double coverage, and Fuller has elite separation skills against man coverage. So you are buying into a player because of, even the supporting cast and how they can elevate him. But like you're saying, like, they don't view Ridley as the number 2 necessarily. He's not, as from a snap share standpoint, he's not running as the 2 there in Atlanta. So,
and coming off a monster week 3, here I am saying, let's temper expectations last week. And in the back of my mind, I'm saying, all right, let me see if he sees an uptick in snaps and routes ran. And it's the same as it's been all year, 54 snaps. Buying or selling, let's talk about Calvin Ridley here, because neither of us are fans. Looking at the trade finder here, Calvin Ridley for Devonta Freeman, straight up. What side are you taking?
It's a no-brainer. I'm taking Freeman.
Yeah, me too. This is interesting because it's got your boy Christian Kirk. Calvin Ridley Christian Kirk, and a 2019 third for Stephon Diggs and James White.
Oh, that's a no-brainer. You take Diggs and White all day long.
Wow.
I mean that
Christian Kirk.
It's fine. You're getting a massive upgrade at the position in Stephon Diggs. You're giving up two, let's face it, unproven commodities. You're getting an upgrade at Stephon Diggs, and you're getting James White, who in a PPR setting is a running back 1-2 right now. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree.
You can't, and you can't be that married to a player. Like, I love Christian Kirk. It's going to take a lot for me to sell him, but that in that kind of construct, like that's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because everybody knows you're a Christian Kirk fan. So, and I love Stephon Diggs. So for me, Stephon Diggs all the way. James White's a throw-in, and that's amazing for PPR. And this is what Calvin Ridley's going for right now. These are trades that are going on this past couple weeks. Kareem Hunt for Calvin Ridley straight up. I mean, are you kidding me?
God.
You got to be kidding me. I'm taking Kareem Hunt and running with this trade. I just want to hammer this home, how incredibly overrated Calvin Ridley is. Calvin Ridley, Mike Gesicki. You're not going to believe this one. From Melvin Gordon.
Unbelievable.
And
Stop.
Curtis Samuel.
It's incredible. I mean, this you learn right here is like never be afraid to throw out an offer. Like if you have Calvin Ridley, throw it out there for some absurd price because you literally from league to league, it is totally different. I sent out this week alone. I sent out one offer in the league and the guy literally laughed and it got accepted about an hour later in a different one. And it's like, you just never know. Every league is different. Don't be afraid to send out offers, especially on guys like these. He's not even a young wide receiver. Look at the pedigree. Look at the age. Like he's 24 years old. Sell. He's not 21 doing this like Juju was. Right. Sell him now. Lock in the value because you hope that he puts up production close to what Melvin Gordon ever puts up. But
here's the thing.
That's like the best case scenario.
Calvin Ridley truthers would ask you, okay, well, what about Cooper Kupp? Because it's the same situation. Cooper Kupp last year was the old rookie and he had a great rookie season. And I mean, he's on fire in that offense, but I mean, gun to my head, obviously I'm taking Cooper Kupp over Ridley, but the Ridley truthers would ask you that question. What did you think about Cooper Kupp last year and his age? So
I'll be honest, I didn't like Cooper Kupp through the process.
Neither did I.
which is fine, but there's always what I'll remind people is there's always outliers, but not every player is an outlier. And that's the key there is these guys who break into this league at over that age threshold, like they're already older. Like it takes wide receivers typically a couple years to break into the league. You're not seeing Ridley come out as a number one or a starter right away. Like he's still the third option from a routes run, from a snap share standpoint. He's still the number 3 wide receiver there. Like don't buy into because that's the easiest way to destroy your dynasty value or your dynasty roster is when you are paying for the upside of a guy. Right now he scored what? 5 touchdowns the last 2 weeks. You don't pay on the upside for a guy like Ridley. It's bad process, and it's how you end up in the dungeon of dynasty for competitive years.
He's on pace for 20 touchdowns on a season. There's no way he scored 20 touchdowns on a season. It's ridiculous. Calvin Ridley, get out of here. Okay, moving on. Staying at wide receiver, we got to talk about this guy, Kiki. Are you feeling Kiki? Kiki Kuti had 15 targets on Sunday. The question here is he DeAnthony Thomas or Tyreek Hill? And before you answer it, by the way, he had over 100 yards. I'm just going to pull up some wide receivers here. And because, of course, we're going to talk about his weight and his BMI. Because Kiki is 181 pounds coming out as a prospect. 5'10", 26 BMI. Now, there's a lot of receivers that have done their thing at that weight. Okay, we know about Tyreek Hill. We know about Tyler Lockett. I'm just going to go down the list here. D.D. Westbrook, 178 pounds as a prospect. Emmanuel Sanders, Ryan Switzer, Tyler Lockett, I said already. Marquise Goodwin, even Dante Pettis. So we're not saying that you can't play at this weight, but it is a major concern for me. But at the end of the day, I would lean more towards, and I'm not saying he's Tyreek Hill, but if you're saying D'Anthony Thomas or Tyreek Hill, I'm, pushing the needle towards the Tyreek Hill side. And I actually am a buyer of Keke Kuti. So thoughts on this wide receiver here?
Yeah, I mean, he's fine. I don't have strong feelings one way or another. Like, he's not a glaring buy for me, especially right now. He's not a sell either. Like, if I had him, I'm probably going to hold unless I get something like what people are paying for Calvin Ridley. And yeah, I'll gladly sell. But he's not glaring either way for me. He's fine. I liked him in the process. I didn't like him. I have him when a couple of value was there in the draft. And so why not take a shot? He's in that offense. He's 181 pounds. I probably am less concerned about that than it sounds like you are. And usually I'm the guy that's like, he's not prototypical, but he's not going to be asked to be. He doesn't profile as an X receiver. That's not his role. He's in the slot. Like, I just think about a guy like Cole Beasley. He's the same, kind of shifty, small, can, work you on a mismatch type of guy. So the weight doesn't concern me. D.D. Westbrook, I love his game. I loved him coming out of the process, but the 178 pounds did scare me because people were profiling him as an X receiver. And an X receiver at 178 pounds, now that scares me.
Yeah.
But 181 pounds for QT, not worried about it. He's fine. He's, in a potent offense. So let's see.
Yeah, I mean, and I pulled him up in my process here. Checks a lot of boxes. I mean, obviously the weight's a concern, but he runs a 4.4, so he's got a 4.43 40. His agility is above average. 6.93 3-cone and 4.15 in the 20-yard. His burst is a little lacking. His broad and his vertical, but his SparkX is good. So he checks some boxes here, and for what you're going to want him to do, he does it. So let's pull up. Not a lot of trades have happened here with Keke because he just blew up on Sunday. But would you take 2019 fourth round pick?
No.
You'd rather have Keke?
Yep.
Yeah, me too. 2019 first and Austin Carr for Keke Kuti? Are you kidding me? No, that can't be. That's not a real trade. We're just gonna.
They're all real trades.
I don't know what league that is, but you could sign me up. What about this one? Marvin Jones or Keke in a 2019 third?
Marvin Jones Jr. all day. That's just not even close for me.
Yeah, I was.
These are so far lopsided. No, that's fine. I mean, you've got to get an idea of the spectrum. Like, for me, I'm not trading QT for a third round straight up because that's what I probably paid for him, a third or a fourth, right? So he's got more upside, and he's in one of those offenses that have talent. Like, they're a potent offense with a young up and coming quarterback with two wide receivers who are going to pull coverage. So in that chance, you swing for the fences there. You keep him, you hold on to him, you don't trade him for a third. But if he's going to be someone who seals a deal on a bigger package, like if you're going to consolidate and that's a piece that they want, I'm not hesitating to give him away either.
No. And Will Fuller's not dead. I mean, no. So he's coming back. All right, that's enough Keke for me. Moving on. I just wanted to touch on Alshon Jeffrey real quick because he's back. Okay. Had 2 end zone targets. And of course, he's going to be involved in the red zone. But here's my concern is is this going to affect Goddard? Because they were running 2 tight end sets the first 3 weeks, and now they're not. And Goddard did nothing on Sunday. So I know we talked about Goddard last week with Zach Ertz saying that with these 2 tight end sets, we're going to see good production out of Goddard his rookie year, and that Zach Ertz owners should be worried. Does Alshon Jeffrey change things for you?
From a long-term perspective, not at all, no. But from a short-term perspective, yeah, for this year, definitely. I mean, it's definitely, we knew it was going to happen. Like, Goddard was going to get opportunities early in the year, and in my opinion, he made good on them. Like, he flashed, so I saw what I needed to see. Now, if you're a wise Dynasty owner, you let this play out for 2 or 3 weeks, and you go and Goddard becomes a glaring buy. Like, watch him start to fade back. And people who don't realize the situation, what's going on with, because some people aren't privy to, having an understanding of running, a 2 tight end set or back, like they're kicking Nelson Aguilar back inside now. So of course they're going to run 3 wide receiver sets with the guy in the slot. You're not, they didn't have anyone to run in the slot when Alshon wasn't there. They were forced to put Aguilar on the outside. So now that they can kick him back inside, they're not going to run 2 tight end sets. So watch people see a decrease in the numbers on Goddard and go try to buy him. Like, throw out some offers. If you can get him for a second rounder, that to me is a win.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take him off your hands in a couple of our leagues.
Nope.
I know. So let's move on to running back here. And, man, I'm so tired of talking about this guy, but we got to talk about him again. Super Camario, Alvin Kamara. My God, it's just incredible, but Alvin Kamara is doing his thing every week, and I'm tired of it. But there is hope because Mark Ingram is returning this week, and I'm excited because I can't stand Alvin Kamara. So I'm excited to see what the Saints are going to do with Mark Ingram and how that affects Alvin Kamara. It's just mind-blowing for me to watch this guy every week drop 40 points in fantasy and PPR. And, I'm just tired of it. So Alvin Kamara, what are we doing? Long-term dynasty, even short-term this year. Are you going to sell Alvin Kamara off of this monster first 4 weeks of the season?
This is like one of those questions where I don't have a right answer. Like, usually I'll take a stance on a guy. Like, Goddard, for me, coming into the situation we were just talking about, is a glaring buy. Like, usually I'll have a stance on a guy. I'll even, my stance will be hold. Like, there's nothing to do here. He's got more value to your team than. I don't know what to do with Kamara. Like,
it's crazy.
It's week after week, and like, you can't keep fading this dude, expecting him to do nothing. Like, I only think Ingram's presence is going to help him. Oh. And that's the weird part is, like, I watched him take some hard hits in this last game, running between the tackles, and the game before. Oh, he looked winded, and you just got to think that even cuts into his ability to make plays on the outside. Like, he's still going to get some carries, but it's all going to be manufactured off the right tackle and put him out in space, give him a gap scheme, pull a guard, and watch him go. But it's like, Ingram's got to be the ground and pound. So I think Kamara gets more optimized touches. Obviously, he's not coming out with 32 touches when Ingram's there. But if he still gets 20 to 24 touches, I don't see him slowing down. I think this is for real.
I guess, I've been fading him as a prospect. I've been fading him his rookie year. Trying to fade him the first 4 weeks. It's just like the never-ending battle, just not winning the battle. We'll see what happens. So, I mean, listen, if I don't have any shares of Kamara, but if I had them, I would be selling high now. I would. Okay. Alvin Kamara, and Demaryius Thomas for Odell Beckham.
Thomas is dead. Yeah, I'm taking it.
Odell Beckham and Travis Kelce.
Yeah. All day. I'm taking that.
Okay, I'm taking it too. And this is the point we're going to make here. Oh, here's an interesting one. Alvin Kamara for Kerryon Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, 2019 first, 2019 first, 2 firsts.
2 firsts. Kerryon.
Of course, you're taking the Kerryon side.
Oh, man.
And this is what I'm saying. If you have Alvin Kamara right now in Dynasty, if you could pull these kind of trades off, dump them. I don't like this one. I don't know about this one. Jordan Howard, Kareem Hunt, and Allen Robinson for Kamara, 2/3 and a 1/4.
All right, repeat that one.
You're getting Jordan Howard, Kareem Hunt, Allen Robinson.
Okay.
For Kamara, 2/3 and a 1/4.
Oh, man, that's a no-brainer. You take the other side all day.
All right.
I'll take Howard, Hunt, and Allen Robinson for Kamara.
What's the real difference between Hunt and Kamara, the rest of the way?
I mean, there's a pretty significant difference, but you get a guy, a wide receiver 1-2, who's relatively young in an up-and-coming offense, and you also get Jordan Howard, who's, likely in PPR solid depth or flex.
Yeah.
That's a good haul.
It is. And I love A-Rob, so I love that side of it. But I'm actually thinking, towards the end of the season, the Chiefs are going to give Hunt the ball, Yeah,
you saw it on Monday night.
You
saw it on Monday night.
I think that's what the Chiefs are going to look like in those December games when we're playing fantasy football playoffs and our title's on the line. So, yeah, I'm definitely taking that side. And, these are just examples of if you got Kamara. And when you got Kamara, let's face it, you got him late first, early second in his rookie draft. So, another steal.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. And that's why if you've got him, I'm almost tempted to say just keep punishing people. He fell there and you got him. If you got him late first, you were a contender, just punish people. Just make them pay for it. That's what I'm doing with James Conner. I got him so late in so many startups and so many rookie drafts. I'm just punishing people now. I sold 1 share out of 17. So I still have 16 shares. And even with games like he just had, I don't care. I'm still riding the wave. I'm not selling with the Bell news. I'm just gonna keep letting it go and punish people.
But nobody was punishing anybody with James Conner in their lineup this week.
No, they weren't. But I'm still gonna ride the wave. I'm still riding the wave. We can talk about James Conner. Let's go. Let's talk about James Conner because I don't know what their reluctancy is to use James Conner in the way that they use Le'Veon Bell, because we saw him carry the workload week 1 and he looked fantastic. And he didn't look great last night. And I'm not saying he is Le'Veon Bell. That's one thing I want to get across to people. My expectation is realistic. I expect him to be able to do 70% of what Le'Veon Bell does. 70%. That's all. That's what I think he's capable of, and he doesn't have to be special because he's not special. But he's a good running back, and Steelers have to figure out how to use him because they're wasting a run game because they have one.
Yeah, the window to sell high was after week 1, obviously. I think, his value has decreased a little bit over these past couple weeks. I think there's some legitimate questions. But fast forward again to 2019, you would assume he's got to be the guy next year. So even though Bell's going to come back, but we'll see.
Yeah, and he's, what people are forgetting here too is he is a day 2 running back. That's pedigree when you talk about running back. First round guys, there's no question those guys are pedigreed. They hit. I've been saying that on this podcast week after week. Right now, I don't care if he just had 9 carries and Mike Davis got 30. Go trade for Rashad Penny. He's a first round pedigreed running back. Yeah. Sony Michel, I didn't love him in the process. I don't care. Go trade for him. Like if you can get him on the cheap because he's a first-round running back. But day 2 running backs are pedigreed. Like that, the second and third round pick is a significant pick. Those are players that teams think can be potential starters. You don't spend a second or a third round pick on running back unless you see potential for them. And the Steelers paid a third for James Conner. And I'm taking that as, plus the fact that they didn't bring anyone in behind him this year, he's their guy going into next year. Like I honestly don't have any question about that. Bell doesn't come back and they roll with Connor. That's not to say they don't bring in help next year, but they're not going to pay any significant price for it.
Yeah, they'll bring back Dree Archer, help catch passes out the backfield. One of my favorite prospects. Let's move on here and stay at running back. We got to talk about Zeke Elliott for a second, because Zeke Elliott, they said he couldn't catch the ball, and that was the knock. Oh, so much over the summer, so many people were knocking him that he wasn't going to be able to catch the ball. And 4 targets on Sunday, he caught all 4 of them. But with a minute left in the game, they're down 24-23, and they flank him out wide, and he runs this route and beats Gerard Davis and makes this incredible catch over the shoulder and looked like a wide receiver doing it. Now, I love Zeke. He's one of my guys. So for him to make a catch like that in a game, put him in position to win the game too, big catch with a minute left. Listen, Zeke can catch the ball. I'm tired of this Zeke can't catch the ball stuff. Zeke can catch the ball. I mean, he's not David Johnson, but he's good enough in the receiving game where he can catch the ball. So are we looking for 70, 80 receptions out of Zeke? No, that's ridiculous. But there's no reason why he can't catch 40, 50 balls, more than that. So I just want to touch on that because a lot of people were knocking him that he couldn't catch the ball for whatever reason they're saying that. Thoughts on Zeke real quick? What do you think?
I think that's totally reasonable expectations. Like, he's not a bad pass catcher. He never has been. Someone who watches every Cowboy game in full, it's crazy to me how they don't get him more involved in the passing game. Like, 40 to 50 targets is an absolute minimum is what he should be catching. I mean, that's 3 receptions a game. Yeah. 3 receptions a game gets you to 48 receptions on the season. Like, he should be at 60. Like, he should be at 60 receptions. You should be trying to get him 4 to 5 targets a game. Put him into space. One of the main calling cards for the Cowboys, and I know this line isn't what it was his rookie year, but one of the main calling cards was put the ball in his hands on those screen passes in space and let them maul people. This offensive line is still very good. It's not the best unit in the league, but it is still a very much above average unit. Put him in space and let them maul people. Let him go. Like,
they did.
I mean, it's
25 carries, 152 yards. He averaged 6 yards a carry. I mean, he killed Detroit.
No, he's still an incredible running back. Yeah, he's still incredible. I mean, I'm not worried about him. He was a guy I had. Now it looks like super intelligent, but I'm not going to say I'm super intelligent by any stretch of the imagination. But I had him ahead of David Johnson in redraft because the floor just seemed too good. The floor-ceiling combination, I'm not sure outside of Gurley you can really match, because Kamara could give you a floor that loses you a week. Zeke is not going to give you that floor. He's going to give you 10 to 12 PPR point floor, but the ceiling is what you saw this week. So that floor-ceiling combination outside of Gurley is unmatched, and that's what you're looking for.
Yeah,
he's a plug and play.
He is. Okay, I've been waiting all night to talk about this guy, and the party has arrived. The breakout has arrived, and we talked about last week that we were waiting for this guy to break out. And granted, he only had 3 carries, but Nick Chubb has arrived. And I'm so excited about Nick Chubb. 105 yards, 3 carries, 35 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns, and looked like an absolute monster on Sunday. So we're here. Throw the confetti. I mean, it's happening, What did you think about that game with those 3 runs?
Oh my gosh. The Chubb Club. Who wants in?
Oh, the Chubb Club.
The Chubb Club.
It's, and on that roster, it's not even close. I mean, Nick Chubb and Baker Mayfield are making Hugh Jackson look like such a fool. I mean, can you believe this? That Hugh Jackson didn't hand the ball to Baker Mayfield in the preseason and just let him start week 1. And here we are. Nick Chubb doing his thing. I mean, I'm just dreaming for the day of Baker and Chubb and, just riding off into the sunset together. Little Duke Johnson here and there. And
just a little Duke sprinkled in.
A little Duke sprinkled in, I wish they never trade away Josh Gordon, but, David Njoku, Hugh Jackson, man, what a terrible, terrible coach. But he'll be gone. He might even be gone this year, honestly, in a few weeks. But a couple of trades here, Nick Chubb. And now these are trades that happened before Sunday's game. You've got Giovanni Bernard, Nick Chubb, and a 2019 first for Kareem Hunt, Ty Montgomery, and a third.
Oh my gosh. That's the Chubb side. No, it's not even.
That's highway robbery.
Proceed.
Straight up, Nick Chubb for Zach Ertz.
Oh, that's a deal. Just off positional value, that's a deal I do all day long. I'll take Chubb side for that.
It's not even close for me.
Yep.
Nick Chubb, CJ Anderson for Derrick Henry, Devontae Parker, and a 2019 second. I mean, all these trades, none of these trades have me thinking for a second. It's just Chubb.
I would have traded Chubb for that straight up.
And you're talking about like a week ago, these trades are going down. Gio for Chubb straight up.
That's awful. That's awful.
Yeah.
I mean, that's right there from a roster construction standpoint. Even I preach one snap away running backs at the back end of your roster, because that move right there is the value that a one snap away running back can bring you. A guy like Gio Bernard, you flip him for a guy like Nick Chubb. That's how you win a dynasty league. I mean, it's incredible. People are just mind blowing.
Those one snap away running backs, you have to flip. I don't think we made that clear last time when we talked about Latavius Murray. You're flipping those guys. There is no long-term prognosis with guys like that. Here's a couple that are really interesting. Sony Michel in a fourth for Nick Chubb in a second.
Oh man, Nick Chubb.
You're getting a free second-round pick here.
Yeah, it's all day.
And then lastly, Nick Chubb for Evan Ingram straight up.
Nick Chubb.
Yeah, every single one of these trades, I'm taking the Chubb side. So it's here. Nick Chubb is happening, and if you were lucky enough to get him in the rookie draft, or even if you traded for him before last week, kudos to you, because the window is pretty much donezo. Good luck getting Nick Chubb now, running for 100 yards and 3 carries. We just mentioned Sony Michel. Let's touch on him real quick. Sony Michel has arrived. Okay, it's happening. He's been getting a slight uptick every week in snaps and opportunities. And here he is, 100 yards on the ground. Now, we know James White is going to hurt him in PPR, but Sony Michel can still make his due on the ground. And long term, I don't know if James White's going to be there long term, but Sony Michel is. So thoughts on Sony Michel this week?
Yeah, I mean, again, like I was saying earlier in the show, first round pedigreed wide receiver. They don't spend that kind of draft capital if they don't view him as a bell cow. So I do think long-term prognosis, is positive, but I will say for temper expectations for the time being, because if he doesn't score a touchdown, he's borderline 2-3 and not startable. I mean, he seems like he can be the type that turns into like Jordan Howard of the past 2 years, where he either scores a touchdown and he's viable, or he pounds the rock for 60, 70 yards, no touchdown. And what does 6.7 fantasy points get you? So just temper expectations for now. You should hopefully have another plan at running back. If he's your starter, you're going to have some weeks where you're really happy and some weeks where, you're kind of upset and thinking that he should be more involved. But just know he's the between the tackles running back, and James White is 100% and for lack of better term, in the Kamara role. Like, they're going to split him out wide. He's going to catch all the passes, and he'll get 5 to 8 carries a game manufactured on the outside. Like, they're going to run him off tackle, and he'll still get some carries, but that shouldn't affect the way that you look at Sony Michel's role as the pounder, because Michel has this role as the pounder. White is going to be manufactured in more zone scheme to the outside, where he's going to go untouched past the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and the window to buy at a discount's gone. There was the first couple weeks of the season with the injury lingering. You had your shot, but that's gone. Another window that's closed or closing, Aaron Jones, who put on a beast of a performance on Sunday and totally outplayed Williams. I mean, is it even close? It's not even close. Pulling up his stats here. 11 for 65, almost 6 yards a carry, scored a touchdown, and even caught a reception, 17 yards. Even Rodgers has come out and talked so highly about this kid during the season and flat out said that he's the most electrifying running back on the team. And he's most excited about Aaron Jones. So the suspension's over and it's full throttle, I think, Aaron Jones the rest of the way. What do you think? I mean, it's going to be tough to buy now.
See, Jones. I'm still not in the buying camp. I'm not sold on Jones. I'm not sold on. I was putting my poker chip down. I told you before the season on Ty Montgomery, but I thought if it was between Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams would take that job and run with it. I was on team anybody but Aaron Jones.
Wow.
That's no longer the case. Like, Jamal Williams looks like just a guy. He really does. I'm past it. You can't hold and marry to your thoughts and predictions. Williams is just a guy. So it's down to me for Ty Montgomery and Aaron Jones, but I don't trust the Packers enough to not involve Williams. And so this backfield is so muddied. I think Ty still has his role. I actually like the offense the most when Ty Montgomery is in the game, just because they spread the ball and they spread the field. And he does have a unique skill set that a lot of people don't bring to the position. I'm in a total avoid the situation altogether. It's not the Patriots backfield where you get this massive fantasy production. And I just don't see a situation where there's a ton of touchdowns coming out of that backfield. And if there's not a ton of touchdowns, then I don't see anyone who's fantasy viable or that you trust week to week.
See, with Ty Montgomery, I actually can see them putting him back to wide receiver, especially with Cobb being hurt. And both rookies have really not done much, Jamon Moore and Scantling. So, I mean, if they can put Ty back at wide receiver to replace Cobb and have Williams and Jones as the two backs, they're in a lot better shape than having Montgomery be the third back. But we'll see what they do.
I'm not sure Montgomery is the third back, though. That's the thing. Is I'm not
really.
I think it's going to be a timeshare between him and Jones, and I think you're going to start to see an uptick in carries for Montgomery. But I think you're going to see he's going to be on the field a lot more, only because of their passing first offense. Like, that's the way it is, and I just see more of upside with Montgomery in the game than I do with Aaron Jones from that standpoint.
Interesting. Well, we'll find out over the next couple of weeks, see what they do. Anybody else you wanted to touch on at running back?
Yeah, I mean, Tara Cohen, I'm not super excited about Tara Cohen still. I know Matt Nagy gets everybody excited. I know Tara Cohen had a huge game, but again, it's Tampa Bay. We talked about it with Trubisky. I'm not buying it yet until I see it for a couple weeks. I actually just sold Cohen for a second straight up. I think that was pretty good value for me. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see any situation where he's someone I trust in my lineup week to week. So if I can get a second round pick for him, I thought that was good value.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd rather hold and keep him for a second, depending if you're a contender or not. I mean, Nagy was on the radio today on NFL radio talking about him and how much he loves him and how much he's going to use him moving forward. And
I should backtrack and say it was an 8 team. So
okay,
the second round pick, the worst that you're getting is the 16th.
Okay.
So you're talking from 9 to 16, somewhere in that range but go, proceed.
Okay. I think I'm still holding. He did talk about him being on the field more, and both as a decoy and being used on the field. So, and he talked about how defenses didn't respect them when he was on the sidelines. And that's true. I mean, you got Jordan Howard back there who is doing his thing, and it's somewhat predictable when Cohen's not on the field. So I think Nagy's going to use him a lot more. I mean, obviously he's not going to be an RB1, but in a PPR format, RB2, I like it. And he's young, and we'll see. But I'm going to hold on Cohen for now. Lastly, well, before we get into some man crush here with Kerryon Johnson, just want to say real quick again, I'm going to keep bringing up Ito Smith until it's a non-factor. But I know Freeman's coming back. But Ito Smith, 7 carries, 35 yards, 5 yards a carry, scored a touchdown, and caught all 3 of his targets on Sunday. This is the guy who in PPR, he's going to be the Tevin Coleman replacement next year. So if you can buy low now, I got him in a ton of leagues. It'll pay off next year. And, you're getting some points now. But, I mean, obviously you're not starting him. But, yeah, Ito Smith, long-term play for next year, buying. I know you don't want to talk about Ito Smith. So,
no, I'm fine. I agree. He's a buy. I mean, you can get him for dirt cheap right now. He's taking that Tevin Coleman role. It's clear that they are not in love with him. Like, even when it's his chance to shine, they didn't give him the full workload. Like, they decided to do a timeshare with Ito Smith. So I'm starting to go cold on Tevin Coleman. More so is what I'm getting out of this is I don't think Coleman ever becomes a lead back. Like, he seems like a committee guy, and he almost seems like he's more efficient in that role.
It's scary. I'm kind of agreeing with that too. I've got Tevin Coleman all over the place. I love Tevin Coleman, but isn't it scary if you're a Tevin Coleman fan?
I just don't see any situation where someone hands him the ball and says, you're our guy.
Yeah. I flipped him last year for Derrick Henry, and that didn't pan out for anybody. So,
yeah.
So we'll close out running backs with your boy. The floor is yours. Kerryon Johnson. What do you got?
All right. First off, he's by far the best running back in Detroit. It's not even close. And, I mean, he busts off a 33-yard run to start the game against Dallas, which, fine, all well and good. Dallas's defensive line's actually pretty stout. So he is a beast. Like, you watch him run, you watch the high knees, like, his movement skills are awesome. They're off the charts. And then you watch LeGarrette Blount, and he carries the ball and he goes to make a cut. He comes to a complete stop. He lets you hit him. He kind of spins out and he falls forward for 2 yards. It is driving me nuts. Yeah. Like, if I'm ever going to rant, now is the time that I'm going to rant, because it makes me sick to sit there and watch the allegiance to LeGarrette Blount. And I don't know if it's Matt Patricia, like, back to the New England days, if he just wants Blount to still like him. Like, even coming out into the media and saying Kerryon is getting enough work, I think the workload is appropriate. It's so hard sometimes in the NFL to assume rational coaching. With the Cowboys, you see with Jason Garrett, like, week to week. Hugh Jackson, week to week. You're starting to see it. It feels like in Arizona, although there's changing of the tide with Rosen. Like, now you're like with Detroit and this whole Kerryon situation, it's driving me nuts. Like, give the man the rock and let him be your starting running back. You moved up in the second round to get him. Why pull back the reins? He's young. He's ready to roll. He knows what he's doing. He's making the right cuts. He's making the right reads. You're opening the holes. Let him go. It makes zero sense.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And as a Lions fan, and I wasn't even a Kerryon Johnson fan of him as a prospect going into the season, but man, I mean, the first carry of the game this week, the hole was like the parting of the Red Sea, and he just shot through it like a cannon. And it's so clear that Kerryon Johnson is light years ahead of Blunt. And he's a plotter. He's a plotter. He's not even doing what he's supposed to do. That's the funny thing. So they're keeping him in the game. And, you know, I got to look up his yards per carry, but it's atrocious. Anyway,
it's like
yeah.
2.1. I mean, it's insane. And it's like, it's just so frustrating. He should be getting the ball 16 to 18 times. I don't care if you want Theo Riddick as your pass catching back, even though I will say Kerryon is a fantastic pass catcher. If you want Theo Riddick because he brings that element of the game that some other guys don't do, it's insane to me that he's at least not getting 1 or 2 receptions a game and 16 to 18 carries. It's insane.
Yeah, I get it.
He disappeared after the first series. Disappeared, like wasn't on the field for the rest of the first quarter.
Yeah. It's sickening. And I'm a Lions fan, and I'm not even a Kerryon Johnson fan. I mean, I'm slowly getting there. But I can't stand Blunt. Get him off the field. And I love Riddick. I love what Riddick brings to the table. He does his thing. He does it great. Does a great job. But, man, they got to get Kerryon Johnson more involved. What is Patrizia doing? Who knows? So that'll be it. That'll be it for running backs. I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit. We'll just touch on tight ends real quick. So I know last week we talked about Kittle. We were concerned about Jimmy G. But as I said before, you know, I didn't expect much regression with Beathard in there. I was expecting him to get targets, to get peppered, and he did. So I think Kittle's safe the rest of the way with Jimmy G out. And Kittle will continue to, you know, put up, I think, tight end 1 numbers because the tight end position is dying and everybody's getting hurt at tight end. So if Kittle can stay healthy, he should finish the season as a tight end 1. Should do it easily. And yeah, what do you think? I think we're good with Kittle the rest of the way, right?
Yeah, it doesn't take much to be a tight end 1, honestly. It's like you just have to kind of have a pulse and be in a somewhat decent situation. Like the formula, again, I said last week for productive tight end is no number 1 wide receiver, and he is their clear number 1 target. So he's got 27 targets on the season. The next closest is Pierre Garçon at 20, and then you're looking at Goodwin at like, I think it was like 14 maybe or something. He's got over double the targets that Goodwin's had. So he's the clear, far and away number 1 option in that passing game. And it seems like every game he's got an opportunity for a big play. He hasn't cashed in until this past week. He made him pay for it.
Yeah. And Goodwin's been hurt, but you know, he's not going to get targeted a lot anyway.
So. Dante Pettis not off the record, obviously, because we're on the air, but don't look. How many targets do you think Dante Pettis has received so far this year?
On the season?
Yeah.
We're 4 weeks in, maybe a couple each week. So I'm going to say 10 targets. 7. All right.
He was the hot commodity going into the season.
Was
7.
he?
He's got 7.
I had no shares of Dante Pettis.
Man, people were overdrafting Pettis left and right. He was sneaking into the back end of the second, mid to second round.
That's all Matt Waldman's fault for making him the number 1 wide receiver. God, let's not talk about Matt Waldman.
Hey, I respect Matt Waldman like no other. I really do in the fantasy community, but
yeah, I'm sorry.
Whatever.
He's not the number 1 wide receiver. Okay, and just to finish up tight ends real quick, Tyler Eifert, we got to say goodbye. Out for the season. His career might be donezo. Obviously, Tyler Kroft here is getting an uptick, along with Cameron Brate, with Howard hurt, and Goddard we talked about already. some regression there for this year. So those are guys, we just want to touch on for this year.
Yeah, not much going on at the tight end position right now.
I'm over it. I almost, flipped out last night when Kelsey got hurt. I stopped breathing for a few seconds there because he's like the only one left, him and Ertz. And Ertz is going to get hurt again because he gets hurt every year. So God forbid Travis Kelsey gets hurt. We're all screwed. Some disappointments, as we close out the show, I just want to mention a few things here. Some disappointments for me. Anthony Barr. I mean, come on. Did anybody have a worse day in the NFL in week 4 than Anthony Barr? I mean, it was bad.
Why do you hate Anthony Barr so much?
Because he's so horrible. And I loved him as a prospect with that speed, but they threw the ball to him 4 times.
This poor guy has made this podcast 3 straight weeks, and you're just ripping.
I was going to lead the podcast with Anthony Barr, but I didn't. I saved the best for last. Okay. 4 targets for 119 yards against Anthony Barr and 3 touchdowns. Gurley scored against Anthony Barr, Cooper Kupp, and Robert Woods. This guy is donezo playing linebacker for the Vikings. I mean, you couldn't have a worse performance, giving up 3 touchdowns in a game. And then, we're only a week after Josh Allen's playing Superman flying over him. I mean, this guy has just embarrassed himself over the past couple weeks on a defense that's supposed to be the best in the league. God, Anthony Barr. See you later. Disappointed with him. And Antonio Callaway. I mean, 9 targets, 4 drops. One of the drops caused an interception return for a touchdown for poor Baker Mayfield, who threw him the ball, hit him in the hands, flew up in the air, and the Raiders ran it back for a touchdown. Antonio Callaway looked absolutely horrendous this past week.
I mean, how about the whole Browns offense, just dropping passes left and right?
True. How many drops? Do you have those numbers? I mean,
I don't have I can recall Callaway's drops too, right? Then there's Njoku had one, of course, because he drops one every game. Landry had one in the red zone. That's 4 off the top of my head.
Callaway had 4 drops, so.
Oh, geez, Louise. So yeah, so that's 6 right there. So I mean, it's insane.
It's bad.
Insane. Help your rookie out. Come on, people.
Seriously. And that's it. I had in the notes here, Winston equals Stafford. He looked really bad. I know he came in for Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick looks terrible too. But I mean, was there really a difference between Fitzpatrick and Winston on Sunday? I mean, I didn't see the difference. They looked the same. They both looked horrible. So Winston, garbage, and the Buccaneers and Falcons defenses are god awful. And lastly, thank God that the hashtag Never Josh Allen movement is back on track, folks. We're good to go. He had his game of his career against the Vikings, and now we're going to sail off into the sunset, and Josh Allen is back to stinking up the joint.
But the funny part is he'll be a lifelong backup because of that one game.
Of course.
Because he flashed one game, people are going to give him a contract. He's going to be the guy who jumps to like 12 different teams and never steps on the field, and it's so much better that way.
Yeah. As long as he never plays for the Lions, I'm good. So, and that'll be it for disappointments. And that'll pretty much wrap it up for tonight's show. Final thoughts? Any final thoughts for you, Nick?
No, just stay steadfast. It's hard to kind of hit the waiver wire hard this time of the year, but even and the big roster dynasty leagues, there's still value to be had. A lot of people don't do the due diligence of scraping the bottom of the barrel. Russ being one of them. He says, you guys can fight over the scraps. That's fine. For me, I'm all about the scraps. Like that's where the team is made. I try to mine and find value. And my hope is that one of those guys actually sticks. Like, yeah, you're going to be picking them up and probably tossing them back in short order for the most part. But I mean, that's half the fun of Dynasty is finding that one gem that, people overlooked and you can make them pay. So just stay steadfast. Don't be afraid to send out offers. You can always construct a deal in some form or fashion, whether you're a buyer or a seller. Whether you're blowing it up or you're a contender, always construct a deal and never be afraid to send out offers. Because as we've seen tonight on DLF with some crazy trades, I don't think there were any that were even really remotely close.
Yeah.
You never know what is going to happen in your league. So shoot out an offer.
Do it. Shoot them out. Final thoughts for me. I just wanted to say, for everyone out there, we're all in leagues. Probably most of us are in multiple leagues, and I'm commissioner in a few, and Nick is as well. Appreciate your commissioners, because I don't think commissioners get enough appreciation for what they do. And I'm saying that as a longtime commissioner, but remember, we're here to have fun, and don't be that guy. Every league has that guy, and we all know who we're talking about in all your leagues. Make your commissioner's life easier, appreciate them. And again, we're here to have fun and play this game. And I just wanted to give a shout out to all the commissioners out there, everything they go through throughout the year, 365, 24/7. We're playing Dynasty here, folks. So again, appreciate your commissioners. They don't get enough respect. And that'll be it. That's all I've got for tonight. Just want to thank everybody out there for listening and for subscribing. Thank you for everybody who subscribed. And if you can, please share the page, share the channel, and help us get to that century mark and get more subscribers. And we'll keep pumping up content for you guys every week. And again, thanks a lot for watching and listening. Ewok Juggernauts here for the Hot Pineapples. And everybody, one clap. Thanks, guys. That is it.
All right, that's a wrap. I messed you up. It's my fault.
No. I have notes in front of me, and I still screwed it up.
What about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Sing.
You can still hear me. What about now?
Yep.
Hello. Can you hear me now? I'm getting so angry. I'm Googling. Give me 1 second.
Oh boy. I'm scared. Bring that anger and energy to the podcast tonight.
It's so frustrating.
Pineapples are getting hot tonight. As for fantasy football fans, we're loving this. All right, you got your notes?
As clear as I could freaking see them. I'm telling you, I'm so mad right now. I'm so angry right now. Alright, let's just go before I get even more pissed off. If I want to make a point, just pull it in. I'm like, listen. Nick Chubb. Okay? Nick freaking Chubb.
This is what I say to Carlos Hyde right here. This is Carlos Hyde, this is for you, okay?
Nick freaking Chubb.
Nick Chubb all the way. So excited about Nick Chubb. So excited.
I mean, I don't see anything. Every picture I look at doesn't have anything else.
Yeah, you shouldn't. I mean, it's USB. You shouldn't have to use an interface.
Hang on, let me get a chair with the back. I'm being a prima donna tonight, but I don't care. It's been a long day. I'm just already mad.
That's the question of the night. Are you going to keep that microphone?
No.
Probably not.
There's the answer. $200. Like, how does a USB microphone for $200 not work?
Yeah. Welcome to NFLMAX.
This is going to be a rough one. All right, just give me 2 minutes.
Yeah. Calvin really only had 6 targets on Sunday?
Yeah.
What's all the hoopla about?
That's it. I don't know.
Let's get into it.
I mean, so if I mute it, so right now you can hear me.
100%.